A friend told me a story about how he wanted to impress some girl in high school. His buddies were into doing backflips off a wall, parkour, and this group of girls were watching all starry-eyed. He said he was giving them a hard time, saying how it wasn't impressive since they needed a wall to do backflips. Then the girls asked if he knew how to do it without the wall, and he assured them he did. Of course, he had to prove it. He said he has no idea how he did, but right there on the blacktop at the skate park, he did a perfect backflip. Tried it when he got home and broke his wrist. What have you done to impress someone that shouldn't have worked but somehow did? Story 1. My buddy was hammered at a bar around closing time. He made eye contact with a cute girl and seriously said, "Take me to bed or lose me forever." She looks at him and says, "Wait right here. My coat is in the back." She drove him back to her place for an enchanted evening, and they never spoke again. If that isn't love, I don't know what is. Story 2. At a party, my friend asked a girl, "Do you like jazz?" I was fully expecting her to laugh at him, but she said, "Yes, I do," and jumped straight onto his lap, and they made out for the next hour. That was weird but impressive. Story 3. First time trying ice skating, and my future girlfriend was an ice hockey player. She saw me as I was grabbing the side and struggling to keep balance. I saw her looking at me, and I turned bright red. I thought, forget it, and went for it, heading to the other side, got about halfway and fell. She came over and asked if I was okay, and I said, "It's fine, just tripped over my feet." She laughed, and we dated for 2 years. Story 4. I met my wife when she was hanging out at my friend's house. When we were introduced, I said, "I am name AF. I'm so and so's brother." She knew my brother. I then said, in order to make my friend laugh more than anything, "I'm kind of a big deal around here." It was the only time I've ever done anything close to throwing a line at a girl, and it was 100% a joke. I was not, in fact, a big deal anywhere. We've been married for 14 years. Story 5. I never did it to impress a girl, but I replaced my gear shift in my car with a gaming joystick so I can pretend to shoot the cars in front of me when stopped at a red light. If it wasn't for that, my wife and I would not have initially found out we were both gamers on that first date. We would not have talked about a game we were both playing at the time when I drove her back, and it might have ended with that date. Story 6. Told a girl I can ride horses. She invited me to ride hers, but I didn't have a clue. I fell off and it hurt like hell. She wasn't impressed, but my now fiancé thought it was so stupid and it made her laugh a lot. So I guess it paid me back later on. Story 7. As a teenager, I went to knock back a shot of Bacardi 151 to demonstrate to my crush how to properly take a shot. It's not that bad. Just do it fast and you hardly taste it. But I coughed when it reached my throat. Bacardi 151 went everywhere, including by my nose. I basically sat around leaking from all of my facial orifices for the rest of the night. However, she did want to console me, so it worked in my favor, I guess. Story 8. I was out clubbing and was hanging out with a cute girl. We go outside for a cigarette and I light her smoke, saying, "Never let a pretty girl light her own cigarette." She responds, "Are you flirting with me?" Which made me think of Get Smart. I replied, "That depends, is it working?" I went home with her. Story 9. Freshman year of high school is about to end. Cue my best friend at the time and me in homeroom trying to pick our classes for next year so we have classes together. My best friend speaks Spanish. He says, "Let's take Spanish. It'll be easy, and I'll help you out." I hit him with, "Or we can take French and get a lot of girls." My mindset behind this was that French was the most romantic language. My friend took no time to think about it and instantly agreed with me. Obviously, it didn't immediately work, but I started dating a girl around senior year because she overheard me say the only sentence I knew fluently at the time. I don't even remember the French sentence, but translated, it was, "My favorite juice is apple juice." She thought it was cute that I knew French. I just went with it. It didn't last long, but it was quite an experience. What started as a joke between my friend and me actually scored me a girl. Story 10. When I was a freshman in high school, I sat behind a cute girl in math. I made jokes constantly, probably too much. I was basically talking to myself out loud, hoping she'd hear me. After 6 weeks, they had to rearrange some schedules and they picked mine. So, I was saying how it was my last day again awkwardly to myself. She turns around and says, "I'm going to miss all your jokes." I was floored. I don't remember what happened next. Maybe I was just in shock. I think I asked why she never said anything. Nothing came of this. I married my high school sweetheart, but it wasn't her. Story 11. I learned how to play Dungeons and Dragons to impress this cute goth girl in college. I didn't really get into it, but I got to be with her more and she appreciated the effort. However, the only place she played was at this local comic book shop, and on the same nights they had Dungeons and Dragons, they also had Magic, the Gathering, and Mother of God, the Smell. I literally gagged the first time I went in there to play, and I couldn't eat anything the whole time. I just kept trying to focus on her. The worst part of the story is we dated for about 6 months, and it was really cool. I learned new music and philosophy, and I was really into her. One day, someone told her I was on a full scholarship for football, and it upset her. She dumped me because she didn't want to be around muscle-headed jock boys. Story 12. Told her I was going to flip a coin. If it lands on heads, I get to kiss her. Tails, she kicks me in the balls. It landed on tails. She wrung my nuts like she was juicing fruit and kissed me. Edit, to whoever gave the award, thank you. Story 13. One time, I proceeded to explain to a girl how a light bulb works and then went on to give an overview of how a car engine works with zero innuendo. Somehow it worked. Story 14. I ate a salad on our first date. The only impressive thing I ever attempted. Never ate another salad since. But it worked. It's been 4 years, and she's still putting up with my excessive snoring every night. Love that woman. Edit. Now, my most upvoted comment is about eating a salad. And to clarify, it was an apple quinoa salad, and yes, I still eat vegetables, and no, I don't have digestive issues. Story 15. My freshman year of college was the year of the clown craze. My roommate and my now ex decided we should go out to see if we could find one of the clowns that were rumored to be in our town. Being the fool that I am, I told them if we didn't find one, my ex could pepper spray me with her roommate's pepper spray. Well, lo and behold, we walked around for 2 hours and found nothing. She didn't have the nerve to do it, but my other roommate sure did. Next thing you know, I'm laying on her dorm room floor while her roommate soaks towels in milk, and I keep them over my face. Afterwards, she told me it was one of the dumbest yet bravest things she'd seen anyone do. My sheer stupidity impressed her enough for another date, though, so it's a win in my books. Story 16. Meeting my current girlfriend's family and friends for the first time when we weren't even official yet. Had only gone on 3 dates. They were all drinking, and I wanted to make a good impression by joining in with the fun and relaxing a bit. We played some drinking games, which I absolutely struggled with, and as a result ended up drinking full solo cups of straight tequila. I ended up getting yelled at by her grandfather for being too loud, fell into a bathtub, vomited on myself in bed and on the floor, and proceeded to have very loud sex where I kept slapping her butt, which to this day I cannot remember at all. Had no idea when I woke up that I even had sex. To this day, her family still reminds me of it. I'm honestly shocked she didn't run away as fast as she could from this relationship. It's been almost a year together now, and thankfully I haven't made any more great first impressions. Story 17. Saying I'm quite good with my tongue, I was drunk, and her replying, "So am I." Even though it worked out, whenever it randomly gets brought back to me, I cringe. Story 18. One night a man, was outside a nightclub, and I bumped into a girl who was a friend of a female friend of mine. We had only met once before very briefly, and I thought she was amazing. We started making small talk, and I was the right amount of drunk to be uninhibited but coherent. There was a mall across the street, and behind the semi-open shutters were flowers in pots. I asked her for a kiss, and she was like, I don't know. I said, "How about if I gave you a flower to make this more romantic?" Her back was to the mall, and she couldn't see the mall flowers. So, I walked over, reached my hand in, and after a few minutes of struggle, I pulled out a cactus. Drunk eyes didn't see they were all cacti, not flowers. This seemed to impress her more. We kissed, and afterward, Someone took a picture of her and me hugging, and her holding a pot of cactus at 2 a.m. Edit. Memory of the next time I saw her just creeped up. This was over 10 years ago. I got off a bus in my town, and she was standing at the bus stop. I said hello and asked how come she's in my town. She lives about 20 miles away. She said she was visiting her sister but doesn't know how to get to her neighborhood. I asked what's the name of the neighborhood, and it turned out it was right beside my house. A 2-minute walk tops. I offered to walk her and she just said, "Nah, it's okay. But thanks." Right in the feels. Honestly, it was quite bizarre. She looked terrified. I just said, "Oh, okay," and left. Story 19. I was wearing these over-knee socks for the first time under a short skirt when meeting him in person for the first time. The problem is, I'm really tall, and at the last minute before leaving, I noticed I had to pull them up way too often. And I didn't have the time or mental stability at that point to come up with a new outfit. So what did I do, obviously? I grabbed duct tape and taped the inside of my socks to my legs and ran off. As you can imagine, it did not work as wonderfully as I had hoped. After a while of constantly fiddling with my socks, I decided if he couldn't deal with the silly things I do, there was no future for us anyway, romantically or friendly, because this was typically me. So I admitted what I had done and started getting rid of all the pieces of tape. 3 years into our relationship, he still loves telling people the story of the duct tape socks. Edit. I just realized this is Ask Men, not Ask Reddit. I am very much a woman, apologies. Though I am enjoying the idea of a man being so nervous about meeting a guy that he duct taped his over-knee socks to his hopefully shaven legs. Story 20. I was cosplaying as Jiraiya, the pervy sage, at an anime convention. This girl sees me and asks to take a picture. She bent over to have her chest bulge out even more than it was, so I asked if I could feel for the picture. She said sure. I touched her chest, and then I got her number. Best convention ever. Edit. As a user requested, I will try and provide a picture. But as I mentioned in the reply comment, I had said, if I have it. Because this was back in 2011, I didn't have a smartphone, so I only had a disposable camera that could only take 24 pictures. Since she asked to take a picture, she would have it, not me. I have only one picture of me from that year. Honestly, I was going to edit my face out, but I don't care. If you are interested in seeing pictures from other years, I have years 2012 through 2017. Story 21. My husband got my attention by flopping down like an uncoordinated monkey while I was miserable outside at a house party and announcing that he had a blanket. I was confused. But you're the only one not drinking, so you must be cold. He was right. He then started rambling about constellations because he was high, and I now know he rambles when he is nervous. It was cute, and we've basically been together ever since. Story 22. My now boyfriend threw pebbles in my cleavage. He also jumped into a 15°C cold river after a duck while being drunk because we told him he couldn't catch it. He is a very good swimmer, though. He didn't catch the duck, but he only missed it by about 10 centimeters. We've been together for almost a year now. Those weren't the only reasons we're together, of course, but his absolute disregard for social norms impressed me. Story 23. At a high school theater retreat, I allowed this cute girl and her friends to shave my stomach hair into the shape of an arrow pointing at my private area. That was 10 years ago, we're married now. Story 24. One time I was texting a girl I liked, and she asked me about the longest text I have ever sent. So I responded by sending her the entire United States Constitution. She called that excessive, so I then doubled down by sending her a complete translation of The Odyssey by Homer. She found my efforts pretty funny, and we ended up going out like a month later. Story 25. At the time, I was working up in the mountains, and each evening as I drove home, I passed fields of beautiful mountain wildflowers. I had gone on a few dates with a girl that I was head over heels for, but she was just lukewarm for me. One evening on my way home, I stopped and picked an armful of wildflowers and wrapped them in a new and unused white handkerchief that I had in my truck. That evening, I put them on her doorstep, parked down the street, and waited for her to come home from work, which I knew was going to be at any moment. I saw her get out of the car, pick up the flowers, read the little note I wrote, and promptly deposit the entire bouquet into the trash. I promptly turned on my truck and went home, and that was the last time I ever saw that girl. Story 26. I had a gigantic crush on this guy in university, and it took a lot of perseverance to get him to give me a shot at a first date. So when he finally agreed, I made sure that nothing was going to stand in my way of getting him to like me. Anyway, the night was coming up, and I started feeling really unwell with horrible pains in my side. After a day or so of this getting really unbearable, on the day of the date, I saw my doctor, who instructed me to go straight to the hospital for tests for appendicitis. I didn't want to cancel the date as I was worried I wouldn't get a second chance, so I thought if I could get through a drink with the guy, I could go to the hospital straight afterwards. I dosed up on all the painkillers I could find and went on the date. Despite the pain and discomfort, we were having a good time, but I was still in a lot of pain. When it came time to part ways, I was relieved that I could now get it sorted, except he wanted to go somewhere for food. If you've ever had appendicitis, you'll know that it hurts a lot to eat, so I tried my best to disguise my discomfort while only managing about 2 forkfuls before I made my excuses to not eat anything more. My date still had no idea I was in this much discomfort. I thought, okay, now I can go. But it turns out my date wanted to go to a club afterwards too. Since he had a few drinks, I stuck to water. I decided another hour couldn't hurt, so I masked my pain and went to the club, except now I started to feel really unwell. My date noticed something was wrong and got me home, but I never told him that it might be my appendix. Fast forward a few hours. I woke up in the hospital with a doctor about to check my appendix. As not long after I got home from the date, I collapsed and had to be rushed in. What should have been a routine appendectomy turned into an emergency operation, and I was in the hospital for almost a fortnight due to my appendix rupturing. When my date found out, he was very upset that I could be so irresponsible as to delay going to the hospital to make a first date. We ended up going out for almost 18 months, and we're still friends now. He likes to remind me to try not to get myself into dangerous situations to go on dates ever again.